Hello and welcome to a Valentine's edition of LinkedIn Live. I am excited to be here. My name is Garth Sharif. Happy Valentine's Day for all of you on February 14th, a time of thinking about relationships. And what better time to think about relationships you have with partners, friends, and your colleagues? And that's why the theme of today's episode is on feedback. And I did play with some different feedback titles based on uh, themes or movies, Valentine's movies. That's why feedback actually for Love Actually. If you didn't get that part, Love and Basketball. Feedback and Basketball was another option. Feedback Hill, Notting Hill, one of my favorite. Please let me know what your favorite Valentine's Day film is. I'm gonna have to go Notting Hill. That always gets to me with Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts. About a boy as well. I like those British rom coms. Cause Love Actually. So about feedback, about a feedback. Not sure if that one works as well. Um, when feedback met Sally, when Harry met Sally. So we could just insert feedback into your favorite romantic the feedback book, a notebook. I should get the hook on this. I'm going on too long with putting feedback into all those romantic comedies. But if you're on LinkedIn and you have a favorite romantic film, comedy, or just romance, um, just let me know. I think that would be fun. Like as I said, mine is Notting Hill. It's one of my favorites. All right, so let's get to the matter at hand, which is on feedback. Still, just challenging for the hybrid environment. I was just delivering a program in Chicago with a company that I work with, 2020 Services, and this just followed similar themes that uh, coming back into hybrid space is a challenge because of the differences in perceptions of how we delegate, how managers are delegating to hybrid staff, and what staff are actually doing, how they're listening to instructions, how they're receiving feedback, and there's just a lot of angst and a lot of frustration. And I deliver programs to CPA firms and CPAs, so that's my specialty in terms of the audience. Even though this LinkedIn Live is for everybody, feedback actually. And though in that space, though, I just want to give you some context. I deliver my experience around audit and assurance and communication challenges because I can empathize. I was in that space for a long time, from 1997 till 2007. But I'll tell you this, honestly, I don't know if I'd want to go back into that space. I don't know if I want to go back into public accounting. And I'm a true love auditor. That's one of my true loves on Valentine's Day. I will profess my love of the auditing profession. But boy, it is a difficult space. There's just a lot of pent up frustration with managers and senior managers about how their staff is working and how much work they have to absorb because there's just a lack of trust, a lack of delegation. And I could hear that just a few weeks ago, and it just it's I want to kind of provide solutions to it, but it is just the fact that the hybrid environment is still developing in terms of how we lead, give feedback. And it does feel, I'll be honest with you, it does probably feel a little bit more towards those that are being led than those that are leading. I think those that are leading others in the hybrid environment feel like they're getting the short change because quiet quitting might not be about them. Trying to, quote unquote, placate to the hybrid staff. And sometimes it's generational. It's, is it generation Z or Z, depending on where you are? Is it this younger generation that's really willing to say, "Hey, I'm valuing my time, my mental health." I know that's not your generation, even though those were important things. That's something you wouldn't speak out about, but I will. And I think managers, senior managers and above can agree on that. They can say that's great, but now that I, have to put up boundaries as to when to call you or when to talk to you, or how much instructions, the work falls on me. So there's just a lot of this going back and forth, between those that are being led and those that are leading. And again, I think the focus is on those that are being led, like those that are led by managers and leaders, and what to do with them in terms of getting the best out of them. So it's still something, that I want to empathize with, you know, with the frustration. As I said, I might not go back into the CPA firm world, even though I probably wouldn't anyway. I love being an entrepreneur. I love what I do with my company, Shrewd Consulting, but it is really hard. It's hard, and I always feel a little bit guilty. I'd like to just to say, you know, do this, and you will find that your staff and your relationship with the people that are working for you and your teams will just be automatic now. It'll be no problems, but that's not the reality, as it were. So just checking the chat. I'm doing my checking of any comments via via LinkedIn, actually, versus the app that's in Restream, which is the provider that I use to stream the LinkedIn Live. So just to see if anyone has let me know their favorite romantic comedy. I'll tell you another one, and I can't. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. It's Nicolas Cage, Bridget Fonda. It's where the cop tips the waitress half his lottery winnings. What is that movie called? It's Nicolas Cage is in it. That's what I remember, but it's also a fantastic romantic comedy. So this is sort of the inspiration for today's LinkedIn Live, making performance reviews fair in a hybrid workspace. Scott Benson is a professor of management at and Silverman Global Faculty Fellow at Fairleigh Dickinson University. And it goes into some things that are important around how we appraise and give feedback to this hybrid workspace. And some things I've been emphasizing when I've talked about this subject, live webinars, or even now, is, the culture and values are really important to employees right now. They are more attuned to these intrinsic values and how they feel connected to the organization, if the culture and values of the organization are reflective of themselves. And when we review individuals, if we're reviewing individuals in a way that's not connected with our culture, they're going to feel that disconnect. And that's what the article is making here as a point, that when we set up performance evaluations, whether it be formal or informal, we want to make sure that how we evaluate, whether it be key performance indicators, conversation, that our values and our culture, our organization, are what's being shown through when we ask other people to sort of get better at certain things or keep up certain things. Because the employees right now feel that disconnect. So there's something uh, that's in this article that it's been consistent. Like there's been, again, most cultures have changed because of the hybrid environment. So we want to make sure our performance appraisals or ways in which we get feedback changing. Another point that's made in this article: continually track the most important metrics. So, what are the KPIs now? What are the key performance indicators for employees? Of course, it depends on the organization, depends on what the role of the employees are, what their deliverables are, their outputs. But we want to also make sure that those metrics represent how the employee sees their value in the organization, how the organization values the employees' output, and sometimes these are outdated, and we don't really take a look at how we measure, because performance indicators are important for the organization as a whole, right? We measure net income, we measure performance, customer surveys, all these things. But when we measure employees, we sometimes don't put the same rigor as into measuring performance of product sales, or measuring um, satisfaction of customers, or if you look at the balanced scorecard, the customer perspective and the financial perspective tends to get a little bit more emphasis than the internal process perspective or learning and growth perspective. And I think that's where we might have to recenter. And some of this is also like, what is the technology available for you? The article goes into describing General Electric having an app as a way to sort of track these key performance metric indicators. Now, when I say track, it's not like the employees have to always be aware that what they're doing is being measured and being um, is being monitored. It's just a way of just trying to make sure that we give real time feedback, because real time feedback is probably the biggest change versus performance appraisals that are something that I used to remember. You wait, 6 months or a year. You sometimes get informal feedback, but a lot of the feedback is that annual performance appraisal, and that's still important. But again, those moments along the way to having that performance appraisal, so it isn't a surprise. And the last, conversation in this is, if your workplace has changed, your valuation processes too. So if you have changed where you have remote employees, hybrid employees, and again, the environment around you could be suppliers, customers, if they've changed because of, the way we work, take a look at how you evaluate your employees. Again, another conversation which is employee centric. I'm going to do a LinkedIn Live where I look at sort of the challenge, the fallout of this, which is we're putting a lot of emphasis on those that are being led, those that leaders, managers lead, to make sure that they feel psychologically safe, that they're getting feedback. But what I'm seeing too on the leadership side is that there's a lot of resentment. And some of that resentment is because they didn't get this type of treatment. They didn't get this type of, considerations for time and mental health and psychological safety. And the other part of it really is that because it's easier potentially to push back work, to say I'm not going to work 15 hours, or I'm going to do this later on, and we somewhat have to kind of maybe say that's okay in the context of of the hybrid workspace. Managers and leaders are feeling like they're the ones that are just getting the extra work, and then their mental health, their ability to be flexible, is not valued. And so just kind of like kicking the can upwards or down the road, mixing my metaphors. So this is, but I think that's my next one of my next LinkedIn Live. There we go. I came up with another topic for my next LinkedIn Live. I am going to see if we have any comments. The comments, I gotta work better on making sure my comments are coming through, because sometimes I get them at the end, and I'd rather have them now. So it's something that I'm gonna work on, so that just trying to see if there's any comments here. Well, I was just really looking to see what your favorite romantic comedies might be, so I can get some ideas. I'm a big fan of romantic comedies. I just think they hit me where the heart is in some of these films. I'm just trying to think of another one that I watch, and I think that is, any Julia Roberts film. I think they can. It's a classic Julia Roberts film. Anyway, probably made my point. I'll take a look later on, so please comment. I do take a look after if I'm not doing it live. I'm gonna work on this part, but yeah, that's the main takeaway right now is when we talk about giving feedback and performance appraisals. Just look at your process right now and see, what's working. Is there any changes? Does it align with your culture and value as it currently is? And get the input of the employees. I think that's really important with performance appraisal. That is, a measure of sensitivity too. Like either it confirms the employees that are doing a good job or their developmental areas, but you don't want it to be a surprise. And especially in the environment that we're currently in, where there's just a lot of learning, and we want to make sure that everyone's sort of on the same page with how we're measuring performance, and how how we see the value of the employees. All right, I've come to an end of our LinkedIn Live. I'm going to do more LinkedIn Lives more regularly on Tuesdays and maybe even Thursdays, so maybe twice a week. And also stay tuned. I'm also making some shorts. I am like shorter videos. I am thinking about going to TikTok. You let me know if that's a good idea. I don't know. I'm a definitely a FOMO person, a fear of missing out person. So I use mainly LinkedIn and some Twitter, but LinkedIn is my main feed. But I like video content, so I'm thinking about it. Definitely, I'm older than the demographic that's out there, even though I see a lot of different mixes of people. And actually, I think a lot of TikTok videos are very great. I mean, they're from a learning point, they're punchy. They get to a point really quickly. But anyway, I'm just giving you a stream of consciousness as to my next sort of thought in this space. But thank you for watching today on feedback, actually, and happy Valentine's. Hopefully, you enjoy the day, regardless of what you're doing. Sometimes it's nice to be alone for Valentine's and take some quiet time for yourself. So, regardless of what you're doing, I hope you have a great day, and thank you for watching. I'll be back hopefully next week or maybe even Thursday. I'll let you know on LinkedIn. Thanks, everybody.